What's up everybody, welcome back to Make It Custom. I'm Carl Fisher and today we are going to get back to our roots a little bit and do some rust repair. You've seen this project truck in the background. This is my buddy Dan's truck. He's making some progress on it and I want to do a little bit of rust repair for him on his cab. There's a couple of really tricky spots that I think we can do with hand metal shaping techniques and tools, which is what this video is all about. So don't forget to like, click subscribe, hit notifications. Let's fix the cowl on Dan's truck. Well, we got the privilege of having Benny in the shop today. My brother Benny, you've seen him on the channel before. We've done a couple of road trips. He is taking one of his days off just to help me out. Genghis, if you have not seen this vehicle before, this is my Yukon, 6.5 liter diesel swapped Yukon. They never came with that, so it's a little bit of a unicorn. We put NV 4500 transmission in it. It's just a workhorse, it's kind of like baby 3/4 ton recreational rig, and he's doing my starter. So thank you, Benny.
Welcome.
You are the man.
My favorite plow truck.
Yeah, this is wintertime in Canada. We've been plowing with this thing. That's what its job has been for the last, I don't know how many years. I go plowing with that in the winter. And anyway, so he's in the shop doing his thing, and I'm about to get started on Dan's rig here. So what I am going to do is, the goal for the video is to at least fabricate the pieces. Like, I would like to shape these pieces. I know that looks really difficult and daunting, and to be honest myself, I've looked at this cab for many, many years just going, I don't even know how you're gonna fix that, man. Like, I just don't even know. And now I feel like I have enough knowledge that we can tackle this for Dan. So that's what we're about to do. I'm gonna make a pattern first. So basically I'm just gonna come in here with tape. I'm gonna tape this all up, try and kind of like stretch the tape across some of these areas so that we don't try and take any of the measurements from the sunken in spots. But I would like to trace out where all these bends are and tape right around, and that will give me an accurate representation of what I need to cut for a piece of sheet metal and where I need to start bending. And quite honestly, you just keep hammering it in the direction which it needs to go and keep checking it, and like, it is that simple. There is, yes, of course, some shrink and stretch, and we will talk about that in some form, but this is something that I think anybody can tackle with varied results, but experience is all you need. So let's jump into it and pattern this out with some tape and cut a piece of sheet metal. Okay, so right now I'm just gonna tape it all up. Basically, I'm just creating a thick enough layer that it somewhat holds itself and it isn't, you know, super flimsy. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press it into all the little spots and kind of give myself a line to follow and to trace as to where any of these creases are that create the body lines. So I'm actually gonna do this in two pieces. It just makes sense. Like, it's a whole nother layer of difficulty to try and do this body line with this body line because they both have form this way and you know, some shape to them. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tackle this one first. I'm just gonna mark out exactly where all these little creases are and the shape that I'm going to start with, and we will start making just this lower piece. Then we'll make this piece and weld them together to complete that patch panel. here's our pattern. So next step, I'm gonna stick this to a piece of sheet metal. We are going to trace it out, cut that piece exactly to that shape, and then we are just gonna start rolling these edges. We're gonna have to, well, first thing we're gonna do is probably go to a sandbag. We're gonna pound this out a little bit. So flip this over, hit it, and try and stretch it out a little bit to give it some of this round shape. And then we're gonna use a dolly and form this little radius along these highlight lines. That's what I'm calling these. It's like kind of the top of the radius. So like the center of a bend is where I've marked these to give me the mark of where I should be tipping this over, you know, a piece of round bar or a T-dolly, and we'll just basically keep coming back and checking it until we've got our piece. So I have marked everything out on here. There was a little bit of kind of a bend in this piece in a little bit of a moon shape, right where the body line kind of wraps over underneath the door overlap. So like I said before, these are kind of the highlight lines, like the tops of those body lines. This piece ends up doing a bit of one of these, like at the door, it kind of comes out, and going towards the hood, it kind of swoops in a little bit. So we're gonna have to just kind of keep that in mind. But basically, I want to add a little bit of stretch in this area to kind of give it that domed shape. It's got a little bit of shape, like three-dimensional curve in this body line as it comes around the cowl. So to do something like that, you can just stretch it with a hammer. So I've got kind of the Mother Tucker hammer here and a sandbag. I'm not gonna do too much in here because it actually swoops in a little bit, so we're not trying to add anything there. We might have to actually add a little bit on the edges to reverse curve it a little bit. So I'm just only doing it in that one little spot here, just to add a little bit of shape, you know? It's not gonna need much. Okay, we can always add more if we need to. It's got, it probably needs a little bit more. When you're adding shape with a hammer like this, if you're thinking about blowing a bubble, kind of, it's a way that you can think about how many more hammer hits you'll need in the center of the shape than you will on the outside, because there's just gonna be more stretch in the middle of any three-dimensional shape. If you just stretch the entire thing evenly, it would just grow evenly, right? So to create shape, there is more stretch in the center of a bowl than there is on the outsides. And that's how you have to think about it here. Like there's gonna be more stretch in the center of this than there will on the edges. So something to keep in mind. So right now I'm just kind of choosing different dollies. This one's a little bit thicker than the last one because this was a little bit sharper than this one. These are just kind of me roughing it out enough that I can check. Now this piece kind of does one of these, so that means that these edges, now this piece kind of is supposed to do this. So these edges here, they can be stretched a little bit, so it's okay to hit them a little harder right on the edges because that is going to allow this shape to build by hitting these edges to stretch them a little bit. It's all about just choosing the right dolly a lot of the time to try and get what you want. So there's a little bit of curve on here to try and get this little bit of curve somehow. That's always how I'm choosing. Here is where it's at. I've got just a little bit of this curve kind of pounded in, this flange tipped over, and a little bit of shape in here that we pounded out in the sandbag. We've kind of just tipped these edges a little bit. This is first fit up, okay? So can't stress enough how important it is to have, you know, this type of a template so that you can really dial in the shape, because if you had a little bit extra, like some guys really like to leave, you know, a bunch of extra, and it's like a safety zone that you have this 1/4 inch of extra material. But if you think about it, if you have another 1/4 inch of material there, that just makes making anything that much more difficult because you have all this extra shrink or all this extra stretch that has to happen, you know, along the edges. So accurate template, accurate piece of metal. This isn't gonna be close, but it'll be, you know, look at that. Fits on. It's actually not terrible, but it does have to get closer in here. We've got pretty significant gaps, so this is gonna have to get tipped over a little bit more, so we're gonna have to work on that. We're definitely gonna have to tip this over more. We're probably gonna have to stretch this edge to allow that to come in. The rest of this back here, it's not terrible. Like I said, we're gonna take the tape off, have a better look. We're just gonna keep on checking, modifying, checking, modifying, checking, modifying, and try and get that piece. Once that piece fits decent, we'll do the same thing here and make a piece for that. And that's how you get a complicated piece with hand tools. It's actually not that hard, everybody. I encourage you to try it. It just look at it kind of logically and step by step and give it your best shot. Problem area is this right now. For one, my tip is a little bit too sharp of a radius for what is there. It's a little bit shallower. It looks like I have a little bit excess material, like perhaps I need to do a little bit of trimming there. I might have to actually move this line a little bit. So I'm not gonna trim that yet because it looks like my highlight line is in the wrong spot. But otherwise, this is looking pretty good. Everything fitting tight now. Like this is looking pretty good. This line transitioning up here. is a little bit softened by that T-dolly that I was using. So what I'm seeing now is that this curve, because I rolled that over, it would need to stretch being an inside curve like that. So right now, this is not sitting tight against the tin because I've tipped this over and it's kind of puckered it in a little bit. So I'm gonna have to just stretch a little bit on that edge to allow that to sit in, but otherwise it's fitting pretty good. So now that I've kind of like softened this edge up and done a little bit more here, I'm just kind of working on this area that seemed a little bit flat. It was very untouched, so I've just picked another dolly just to try and kind of round a little bit of the rest of this bead to help it flow. If I look down the kind of the highlight line here, it looks a little bit fat and then all of a sudden skinny, like I was saying before. So you can really tell by just kind of like moving a piece around and trying to look and identify where radiuses are, and it's a little bit wobbly here. So I'm just gonna work on that using this edge, trying to straighten that out and just add a tiny bit of form to this piece this way. So we're at the fine tuning stage, and I think this is a spot where a lot of people might get frustrated and kind of lose interest or whatever. Make a little adjustment, recheck it. See how far your little adjustment got you. So I want you to like look at, you know, the light lines and find little wobbles in them and kind of wonder why that wobble is there and wonder how you can take that out and go adjust it and see if you can get it gone. And then you're kind of trimming and creeping up on fit. I'm pretty happy with the fit. It's very close. Like you even do continue trimming and fitting. Once it's actually cut out, you can actually get it to fit even better. Because right now, technically it's overlapped. So if it fits really good, it's technically one thickness of material too large. So things will have to get tightened up. There are a couple more things that I can make a little bit better. And that's what I'm talking about is like, if I look down this little light line on that radius, I can see that it's kind of a little bit wobbly here. It almost looks like there's a flat spot right in this spot because on this side it does the same thing. It's coming along good. We're gonna keep going, make it a little bit better, and then we're gonna make that other piece as well. This is kind of an unconventional way to be using this hammer. This is a door skinning hammer. This is for folding the flange over a door skin. But what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to planish this, and it's got a slight reverse curve on it. So I'm laying it upside down, and I'm trying to get a couple of these marks in there that I had put in earlier, kind of by accident. I sort of made a couple of raised areas that I can feel. So I'm just gonna kind of use this to planish a little bit. It's got a nice flat, kind of curved face on the hammer. It's polished. And they're pretty much gone. Did want to tighten this up just a little bit as well. So I'm gonna come in here and just add a little bit of radius on this edge. Let's go give it a check. So we're tightening everything up. So we're kind of pushing it on again. Feels tight, like everything is touching metal, which means it's not pulled away. Pretty happy with that. I think that we're good. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm actually gonna cut this in and probably just tack it. I'm not gonna permanently put this in here because I kind of want to still be able to take the piece out, but I'm gonna tack this piece in, remove this material so that we can fit it flush. Because this body line is kind of destroyed, I would like to now use this new edge that we've got as the template for this next piece. So if I install this and tack it in, I'll have this nice edge to go off of to template our next piece that we're gonna make here. All right, well, here we are with this piece. I've been just kind of tweaking on it. It still needs to probably be stretched a little bit more here. This is starting to look good. I may have over shrank a little. I did kick shrink a couple times on this edge just to kind of close it up. And then, yeah, we're just gonna kind of align this line to this one. So there'll be a little bit of tapping around here. And this is really where you need to take your time. It looks like I can tip this in a little bit. And like I said, stretch that back out, add a little bit of stretch here. So that's what I'm gonna do next. We'll fit it up again. This is where I think a lot of people, they go, wow, like it looks close, and then they just kind of stop. But you can get it a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, and it's all depends on your standards, right? Like I mean, for me here, it's 100% good enough. Some guys would take it farther, some guys wouldn't go quite as far. I'm just trying to do as good as I can to try and push my abilities. Like I'm still learning, and I'm just, you know, trying to learn from each experience I have, so. All right, so I'm pretty happy with the way things are right now. I've got this piece just held on with the one cleco. So what I'm gonna do is just tack these two pieces together, then it's still removable, then we can still play with it. I think this piece will be another video. We'll actually probably cut the lead out of the pillar here and maybe make a piece from here right down, since it's all cracked and rotten there. But as far as the side goes, our pieces are looking good. If you're wondering what my settings are, I just put it at like 100 amps just so that I have enough to be able to kind of stab it if I need a little bit of extra juice. But for the most part, what I like to do as a rule of thumb is 1 amp per thou. So if this is, you know, 50 thou material being 18 gauge, then you can kind of use 1 amp per thou as a gauge. So 50 amps is probably what you're gonna weld at. Give yourself a little bit of extra just so that you have some room to play with the foot pedal. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a weld on the inside. You can see our fit up is nice. We've got kind of edge to edge. We can weld on the inside of this. That way we can actually grind this right out. I'm super stoked with the way that this turned out, and I just want to remind you guys before we get into this that the Northern California class, there's still a few seats available. We are going to be building the profiling tool. Each person that attends the class will get their own builder's kit for the profiling tool. We are all going to build these tools together and then use them to do some bead work and to make our own profiling dies. We're gonna learn how to make your own profile dies and what's important about them, as well as day 2 of this course is gonna be basic metal shaping. We're gonna go over a bunch of different tools, bunch of different techniques to get you guys going with basic metal shaping and the profiling build. So that is coming up. Link is in the description for that. You can come join us. It's right in the beginning of March. So anyway, let's get into this. This is 18 gauge body line. It's welded on the backside here. I smoothed it all out with 80 grit on the roll lock just a little bit, like just to get the hammer marks out of it. Like it was already quite smooth, but every time you hit it with a hammer, it imprints. So, so I ground it just a little bit, went to 120 and then 320 just to get it that nice smooth, nice shape and a little bit of Scotch-Brite. So like by all means, this is not like 100% perfect. You know, if you wanted to take this a step further, you could. You could actually take profiles, like really accurate profiles of, say, this exact body line on the other side of the truck, which is more intact. There wasn't a lot of information on this side, but you could get exact profiles and like dissect this like slices of bread and making profiles to match. That is one way you could take this a step further, but quite honestly, this is plenty far enough for what we're going for. And at any point, we could have stopped a little bit sooner and just used a little bit more mud. You guys do this as far or as not far as you guys want. Hopefully you guys just got a little bit of basic metal shaping knowledge on this, how it's like, it really helps to visualize metal like clay, how it can be pushed around and bumped around. You're just hitting it with different tools that that transfer their surfaces, that might bend them, you know, with different radiuses depending on what kind of dolly you're using. So a lot can be done with basic metal shaping, and using tape as a basic pattern really helps me anyways to start with the right shape. So that there isn't too much excess, so we're not overworking the material, right? So anyway, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. We've got tons of the profiling hammers going out. They're on the site. We're just, Elio is like employed here, just like building those things, you know, as well as everything else that he does for Make It Kustom. So I appreciate everybody on that. We did launch a Patreon account. So if you're looking for ad-free content, if you're looking for DXF files for some of the tools we're building, or any of the past things that we've built, like the bead roller, like the bomber seats, we've actually got DXF files on there that you're able to get. There's a bunch of other perks on Patreon. So if that's something that you're into, we're on there. Check us out. And thanks a lot for watching Make It Kustom, everybody. Really appreciate you guys and all the support, and catch you on the next one. See you later. Bye-bye.